We're here. Our speakers are ready to go. We've got all kinds of information. Everybody is locked down. Everybody is at home. So it'll be interesting to see who's wearing suits and who's not. Usually when we have these events, our speakers come suited and booted. So let's see who's in their onesies and pajamas tonight. But I'll tell you what, we have, and you would have seen from the adverts, we have a very special interview with somebody who many of you may know, some of you may be yet to know. And I'm happy to introduce him to you for those people who don't know him. But he is someone who, I'm going to read out what I know of his credentials. He can tell you more about himself when he comes on. But this is a man who has worked for someone called Enver Yucel. Now, if you don't know who Enver Yucel is, if you live in Portsmouth, you will know. If you live in Portsmouth and you like basketball, you will know, because he's the major shareholder of the basketball team in Portsmouth. He's a billionaire. He runs universities, etc. He's been given awards for his contribution towards education. He's also worked for Oprah Winfrey. And I know you know who Oprah Winfrey is. He's a journalist. He writes for the USA Today. He writes a column in the USA Today. He's executive produced a TV show. He's the author of the book, It's Complicated, but it doesn't have to be. He's hosted TV shows, Love Town USA for Oprah Winfrey Network. He's also hosted Celebs Go Dating, co-founder of matchmaking agency, a digital media show host, co-founder a media company, public speaker, mentor, mentors entrepreneurs. He's an influencer. He's on a board of trustee for an education company. Is the one and the only Mr. Paul Carrick Brunson. Welcome, sir.
Oh man, thank you. I love the energy. Energy was fire. Energy was fire, man. You know what though? That is fascinating that you mentioned about Enver and his ownership in Portsmouth. A lot of people don't even haven't even mentioned that before. So that's really dope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
That's a new. He just made that acquisition within the last few months.
Yes, yeah, I found out he was due there for one of the games in February. I'm not sure whether he actually came because of everything that's happening now, but yeah, I did a bit of reading. I did a bit of research.
You did. Well done, man. It's an honor to be here. All the speakers as well. I see everybody lined up. I would say 2 or 3 suited and booted.
Okay.
I see that both of the Pauls showed up looking the same. Both Pauls, like we both like literally we look the same. Both Pauls. Like,
that Paul mindset, but no, sir, it's absolutely fantastic to have you here, and I appreciate it. How are you finding the lockdown? How are you finding it?
Yeah. So quite honestly, this is going to sound crazy to a lot of people. I actually one, let me just say this. I mean, my heart goes out to everyone who is struggling through the lockdown. I have a lot of friends who are in the mental health space, a lot of friends who are police officers. They've been telling me about the increase in domestic violence, the increase in suicides, right? The increase in anxiety. So from that standpoint, my heart goes out to those. But I think that there's another group of us, and I fit in that group, where quite honestly, I like the lockdown, right? And I think there's several reasons why. One, I'm an introvert. Okay. Secondly, is a lot of people don't realize that I am not only an introvert, but I'm shy, right? Mm-hmm. My wife is also an introvert and shy. My kids are also introverted and shy. So we're loving the fact that we're locked in our flat together, you know? Also, I feel more creative than I've ever been in my entire life. And I think it's just this kind of space away from the day-to-day grind. And so I'm finding I'm looking at the silver lining of the lockdown.
Right. Yeah. No, that's very true. Everything you said about those people who are suffering, etc. I do agree, though. It's like sometimes life is so busy that you don't get a chance to just stop and think. And it's when you think that those creative juices start flowing, right? And you start to kind of get ideas. So are you like thinking of new ideas for new things that you're going to do during this time?
Oh, constantly. Like I've for the last 10 years, I've literally had 10 jobs. You know, you just named out all of these kind of roles and responsibilities I've had, you know, so right now is literally the first time that I can remember in my adult life where I have just had this much space. And the beauty of having this much space is I'm able to now brainstorm and been able to connect with others, as well, which is facilitating the brainstorm. This is in part, I think you and I met, literally, we connected as a result of us being locked down,
That's true.
and now I'm connected to a whole new social circle. Yours, I'm meeting everybody else, Paul, everybody else who's on the panel. This is good, right? This is good for all of us. The coming together of different social circles, it makes us stronger.
100%. Yeah, most definitely. I think there are so many things to think about when it comes to just the whole fact of how we met as well. I was tuned into one of your sessions, your online sessions, and literally the challenge was just thrown out there. Now that everybody is locked down, actually reach out online and try to meet someone.
Absolutely.
And I literally followed that instruction. I was very happy that you replied. Actually, it was nice that you actually replied back, and just so accommodating and agreeing to the interview, and just being here today. I think that without this kind of scenario, like you said, just being able to stop and meet new people and just go with the flow, see where things take you. I think it's an amazing opportunity.
Oh man, it'll take us all to the next level.
So I've said before, you're an author. You've authored a book. It's complicated, but it doesn't have to be. People know you as a relationship guru. At this time, you're locked down with your family. You're in the place. In fact, you moved to London within the last year or so. Is it a year or 2 years that you've been?
2 years. Yeah, it's crazy. So we've been here we're now going on our 3rd year. So
Right.
this June will be 3 years here in London, but we live between here, New York, and Washington, D.C.
Okay, wow. So how are you finding it in London in comparison?
Man, I love London. You might have me here permanently. Yeah, for real. There's so many things that I love about London, so many things. But I will tell you, what is probably heaviest on my heart about London is I love what I see is beginning to happen in the Black community in London. And what I mean by that is, I think that, so my family's Jamaican, right? So my grandfather actually was a part of the Windrush generation, came over here in the 1940s from Kingston.
Okay.
And from what I knew about London 10 years ago, or the UK 10 years ago, Black community UK 10 years ago, versus what I see today, is it's a lot more diverse. There's more richness, right? You have a heavy West African contingency now. You have more West Indian representation now. And what you have now, I believe, is the jump off. It's the seeds of the next kind of front of Black business, right? I've connected recently with a group here, Cornerstone Partners, Black, basically, private equity group. And I see the deals that are like coming through, and I see what they're looking at doing. And these are things that 10 years ago was not happening here in the UK. But right now I see, I think it's incredible. The other part of it too is I find that the level of global awareness and intelligence here on a per capita basis among Black people on a per capita basis is much higher than anywhere I've seen in the world. Much higher than anywhere I've seen in the world. And I think it's because you have a lot of second generation West Indies, second generation West Africans who watched their parents grind. And as a result of that, have not only that same type of hustle, but they also have a high level of education and intelligence. It's similar to the United States, but 20, 30 years ago. Because what you had in the United States in the Black community is you had a lot of second generation at that point in time. Now you have third and fourth generation. And what's beginning to happen is you see complacency set in, you see other things set in. So I think this is an incredible place. It's an honor to be here.
Wow, and we're definitely happy to have you here. So hopefully you will stay.
Yeah.
So I did speak about in the introduction some of the things that you've done in your career, like working for billionaires. Some people may have seen your YouTube clips as reference to that, the articles you've written. But I'd like you to talk to us because a lot of my audience, you know, these are people who are either wanting to start things up, they're on the grind, they're trying to maybe start something new or build on something that they already have. And we'd like to learn from your experience. So how talk us through your rise to where you are now, and if you could maybe think about one or two key lessons that you learned along the way that maybe you wish you had done differently, that you would advise other people to do as they're on their journey.
Yeah. Well, that's a big question. That's a big question. You know, in short, I guess I say a couple things. Is I always say that in the stage I am in my life, I feel like I'm a sophomore in high school. So, you know, in the States, we've got high school, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year.
Right.
I feel like I'm in my sophomore year, right? I don't even feel like I've hit junior year yet. So I
Mm,
still feel like I'm in the beginning of my career, but I
mm,
also feel good about where I am now in my career. And I think when I look back at it, one of the things that I've done is I've done multiple things, right? So, you know, I've probably been working for about 15 years professionally.
mm,
Started as an investment banker, moved from investment banking to then basically managing money. I managed a portfolio for Enver, who you mentioned earlier.
mm,
Then I got into acquisitions for Enver. Then from there, I opened up a large nonprofit organization in the US. Then from there, I became a matchmaker, which everyone was like, are you crazy for becoming a matchmaker, right? Got a chance to go to a top business school in the US. Then from there, pivoted and started a television career, right? You know, then went into journalism, you know, so I've done lots of different things. And
mm,
one lesson I've learned is the importance of not being stagnant and the importance of being increasing your diversification of your career, right? In investments all the time, we talk about the importance of having a diversified portfolio. I
mm,
think that we should look at our career the same way. We should have a diversified career because what it does is it allows us to literally connect with multiple social circles. It allows us to hone our skill sets, right?
mm,
And what it does is it also allows us to come up with what I believe is the secret sauce to a strong personal brand. And that is being able to identify that, being able to identify the cross section, the uniqueness of a cross section of certain things. So, for example, if I said, okay, quick, name somebody who has been in finance, television, and is a matchmaker, right?
mm.
I'm the only, like, you can't name anybody else, right? It's
That's
me.
right.
But the beauty, though, is that if I could figure out how to then take that and leverage that uniqueness, that then is something that is you can't duplicate that. You can't compete with that. That's something that is mine, right? So I
Mm,
think that that's very strong from a personal brand standpoint. The kind of the second maybe big thing that I've learned along the way is humbling yourself to receive insight and information from others, right? This is part, like, part of me wanting to do this is so that I can learn from you
mm.
in particular,
Right.
right? And
Okay.
so I think that is if we are all able to humble ourselves
Mm,
and know that there is a lesson behind, everyone could teach us a lesson, right?
right.
My 6-year-old teaches me every week. He's
Mm,
6, right?
mm.
But he still teaches me. There's a lesson there. And so I think that's you know, that's another big one for me is knowing that everyone can everyone is a teacher, and we have to
Mm.
humble ourselves to become that student.
Wow. That is humbling for me to think that you thought that you could actually learn something from me. That's yeah, that's kind of taken me back a bit. But you're right. I think there's a very key lesson in that. I think we have to always be willing to learn and find lessons. I think your story resonates with me a lot because I don't know, there's two ways of kind of looking at what you want to do in life. There's those people who know exactly what they want to do and they just do it. And it's just that one thing, right? And there's that phrase, stay in your lane, that people will bring up. I'm not like that, so I, I, I guess it's not that I just try my hand at different things. I feel that I maximize the skill sets that I have. So I do things in education technology. I'm an educator. I also learned and developed as an entrepreneur. So I want to facilitate helping other people do that. So in different circles, I'm known as different things. And I think that, you've taken this to the next level. You've done this extremely well. And I think, yes, it's a very good example of the fact that it can work when you're not just sticking to one thing.
Yeah, and if I could say something on that, is that I believe that if you are ambitious, if anyone is watching this, one of the indicators to really convey that you are truly ambitious is that you are always wanting to do that, right? You are, and here's my story of that is, so I worked for, I actually hosted a show for USA Today called Uncommon Drive, where I interviewed the top entrepreneurs in the world, all right, to figure out what was driving them, right? Probably the most memorable interview was with the late Kobe Bryant. Okay. Here's how I started the interview. I said, Kobe, I'm envious of you. Right. And I said, the reason why I'm envious of you is because I believe that when you were a little boy, you knew what God put you on earth here to do. You knew that you were put on this earth to play basketball, right? This is what you came into this earth to do, right? You have done this at the highest level, right? I was like, I'm envious because you knew what it was and you did it. And he looked at me and he said, Paul, no, you're wrong. I wasn't put on this earth to play basketball. He said, I was put on this earth to do what I'm doing right now. And he was, at that time, he had just launched an investment firm.
Okay.
So you think about this. Kobe Bryant, perhaps one of the greatest basketball players of all time, said, no, I wasn't put on this earth to play basketball. I was put on this earth to do this other thing, right? Wow. And I think this is something that I've seen time and time again with these phenomenal, people who are ambitious at the next level, is that they're constantly evolving. They're constantly evolving. Oprah Winfrey, many years ago, was a journalist who evolved into a talk show host, who evolved into, the owner, the CEO of a network and entertainment company, who then, Enver Yucel, who you mentioned, he was a math teacher, who evolved into a small test prep company, owner, who evolved into, the point there is that we have to continue to evolve. And so, so you saying that makes, to me, just tells me you're simply ambitious, which is good.
Right. Oh, that's good to know. That's good to know. I try not to make any apologies about what I do, but sometimes it's difficult. But things like what you do and what I see others do, it really does encourage me. So thank you so much for your input. I would like to ask though, and this is something, I think maybe this is just personal for me. Maybe I'm just being selfish. I don't care about the audience on this one. For real, this one is for me, okay? So actually, I want to know, how do you balance family life with all of the jobs that you do, all the roles that you have, especially on the fact that, you're a relationship guru, right? So I want some nuggets now. So tell me how you balance your family life and being so busy at the same time.
All right, my take on that is you don't. There's no such thing as balance. You can only prioritize. That's it. And you have, and in my opinion, you have to prioritize knowing that things will fall off, right? But if you are prioritizing, the important things will never fall off. So for me, family is right at the top of the list. So for example, I am here with my family, right? my wife and I have an agreement that is, if I work on a project that's over 10 days, so if I have to travel for over
Mhm.
10 days, the entire family goes with me, the entire family.
Right.
And then we work around that, which is why we homeschool our boys,
Mm.
because there was no school that would allow us to dip in and dip out,
Of course,
right?
yeah.
So because I prioritize family, no matter what project I'm on, my projects know that I stop at a certain time because I have to eat dinner. When we were booking this, what did I tell you?
Yes.
What did I
Yeah.
mention to you?
You told me straight away, you said you finished work 7 o'clock. And, I told my wife that same thing. As soon as I came off, she said, see?
But see, but and I do that because I'm gonna go have dinner with my family every
Mm,
night. And so I think it's about prioritizing. Now, that being said, are there days where maybe I can't be here at 7 o'clock because I'm doing something? Absolutely.
mm,
But if on average out of the week, 6 out of the 7 days, 5 out of the 7 days, we're sticking to that, then I know that over the long haul, it's going to make a major impact. And most importantly, it's going to make a major impact on me, because I think it's important for us, going back to managing our relationships,
mm,
romantic, platonic, professional, is you have to know what it is that you value, and you must hold to that. In business, all the time, I see people get into business values, but I could really make some money with them. Then why would you do that? Because what you're doing is you're basically saying that you're willing to settle, and you are willing to sacrifice your beliefs for the dollar.
mm,
And what I've realized, and this is things that I've learned from Enver and Oprah and other folks, is that they don't get into business with people that they don't value, because the people they're what was actually really fascinating about them, and this connects with prioritizing versus balancing, is
mm.
I never saw Oprah and Enver take one day off. Never. And there's a big debate among, like, do you take days off? Like, is it no days off? Is it healthy or whatever? I never saw them take days off. Sometimes with Enver, because I worked with him for quite a long time, we could be on vacation in the Mediterranean, on his yacht, right, playing chess, just hanging out, right, on the boat. But guess what we're doing? We're still talking business. They're flying people in on the helicopter, right? There's still people are still coming in to talk business. There was never a day off. But what I realized is that they still prioritized their life.
Mm,
Enver always had his family with him. Always. His family was always there. With Oprah, what was fascinating with Oprah is we would go around and she would host these, they're called upfronts. So when you're selling a television show, you go around in different cities and you bring in all the advertisers. She would always bring in the advertisers, right? She would host these elaborate dinners, but at every dinner, off to a table on the side, were her girls are her girls from her school, right?
right. Okay.
And she would have her girls sitting at the table. Her boyfriend Stedman would always be at the table. She brought the family with her, right?
Mm,
Because this
mm,
was priority to her. And I think that what we have to do is, we don't all have Oprah and Enver resources, but
mm,
we can do our best to set boundaries, little boundaries. So it could be, sorry, I can't be on a session past 7 o'clock because I have to be with my family. Those little boundaries add up. So I say, know what you value,
mm,
set boundaries around what you value, and then prioritize those values.
mm. That is absolutely fantastic. I'm definitely going to be coming back to this section on the recording and taking some serious notes. But I think that's very true. Just naturally, you've got an insight into, like you said, all the people that you've interviewed, and these are very successful people. And it's just good to know that, you don't have to compromise, and just kind of, like you said, setting the priority. That's definitely something I'm not going to forget. Thank you so much for that.
You got it. You got it.
Um, I want to move on to kind of talking about the scenario that we're in now. So naturally, this pandemic is taking over the world. I don't think there's a country that's not affected by it right now. Um, And I know that you do a lot of work helping entrepreneurs and mentoring people. So I just wanted to know what you think or what you feel is key advice for entrepreneurs during this time. What do you feel people should be focused on? Should they be prioritizing specific things during this time? Where do you feel the opportunities are, and what do you feel is the best course of action for people who are in business?
You know what's incredible is literally yesterday, I
Mm,
did a whole 1 hour lockdown live session on this exact topic
yeah.
because I feel like you can look at the negative of where we are right now, but you can also look at the opportunities. I feel like there are enormous opportunities right now for what I call micro entrepreneurs, right? Very small entrepreneurs, as well as those seeking to build a brand. Enormous opportunities. And I actually listed 10 and went into detail on the 10, but I'll give you just a few right now.
Mm,
So first, and this is actually in no particular order, what we're doing right now. So social networking, self-development and education is definitely something that we all could be doing right now, right? On the social networking side, never has there been a time in our lifetime, or should I say a better time in our lifetime, to reach out and connect with someone, because everyone is sitting at home connected to their mobile, connected to their laptop. So if you sent anybody, you sent Michael Jordan, right, an inbox message on LinkedIn, chances are there's a higher likelihood that Michael Jordan is going to read it today versus a year ago
yeah.
or versus a year from now.
Mm,
So this is the time to begin to reach out, but it's important when you're reaching out that you know how to do it, right? So a large part of that is reaching out and figuring out how you can add value,
mm,
how you can help to move someone closer to their goal instead
mm,
of trying to just ask. So social networking, very important, right? Very important right now. This is all we should all be doing this. Self-development, right? We should all be doing this. Everybody who's watching this is a part of self-development. I think creating success habits is also something we all can be doing, right?
mm,
I'm sure you've read like Charles Duhigg's book on habits. James Clear wrote Atomic Habit, right? If you read any of these books on habits, you'll see that they all pretty much profess that it takes about 60, 66 days, depending on who you are, to build a habit, right? It's about repetitive. This is the time. We are all going to be locked down, no matter where you are in the world, for probably another 2 to 3 months. 2 or 3 months. So we have the time right now to build those success habits. And one of the top habits I think entrepreneurs need to have is the ability to plan for their next morning the night before. It's something that seems very minor, but it makes all the difference in the world, right? So the night before, you should plan for your next morning. You should know what you're going to wear the night before. You should know what you're going to eat in the morning the night before. You should know what you're going to do in the morning. Is it meditating? Are you going to go to the gym, right? I'm so anal. I'm so anal about knowing what I'm going to do. Like when I go to the gym in the morning, I like 90s R&B. I
mm,
like Jodeci. I like some Drew Hill, right? I like some 90s R&B. I'll plan my playlist the night before so that when I wake up, I am just on autopilot. I'm on autopilot. Now, why do I do that? Why do I think, successful entrepreneurs do that? It's because we only have a certain amount of decision-making capacity.
mm,
Everyone suffers decision fatigue. Everybody does. And so the most important thing that you could do out of your day as an entrepreneur is focus your decision-making power on the big questions, on the big decisions, not on the, do my shoes match my shirt, right?
right.
Or I'm sorry, y'all say my trainers match my jumper, right? All that, like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like those are minor. So build success habits. There's lots of success habits, but as an entrepreneur, I think a big one is planning the night ahead for your next morning so that you can focus your decision-making capacity on the big decisions. So these are little things: success habits, social networking, self-development. These are things that we could be doing right now as entrepreneurs, so that when we're out of the quarantine, we'll be much better.
Fantastic. That is great advice. And what I will do for everybody who's attending, I'll drop a link to your social media where you have a recording of yesterday's session, and everybody can hear the full list and all the details. But thanks so much for sharing that. I think it's so true. I think they're building habits. I think breaking out of habits, I think, is the biggest step. And it comes, like you said, through that repetitive focus and just mundane repetition. But yeah, thank you so much for that advice. I want to ask you regarding, I guess we always hope, this is the main thing that keeps us waking up in the morning, our drive is the hope of something better. And in this position now, we're faced with a lot of negative news, and there's literally two camps of people right now: those who are suffering, and those people who are thriving. What do you feel the future holds for business, for entrepreneurs beyond this time? So when the lockdown is over, when the epidemic has passed, what do you feel the future holds? And also, how would you advise those people who are maybe feeling a bit down and haven't been as active, and maybe they just need a bit of motivation to get into that position where they're thriving? So that's a two-part question. What do you feel the future holds? And how do you feel people should be focused, or where their attention should be during this time?
Yeah, I think these are two great questions. So the first lockdown live that I did maybe 2 weeks ago was on this exact topic, was on how business economies are shifting and will forever change as a result of the pandemic. And I think this is something that we have to fundamentally understand is going to change forever. There are going to be hundreds of thousands of businesses that will not come back. And the reason why they're not going to come back is because we're going to move into a post-coronavirus economy, which is all about efficiency. We're going to be the most efficient business operators that we have ever seen. All the fat is going to be cut. Automation is going to be everything, right? Also, what you're seeing right now is you're seeing people acclimating to doing business at a distance, right? So for example, there are now millions of people who have never ordered their groceries online, who have now just started ordering their groceries online. What's going to happen post-pandemic? Are they going to go back to walking to their local grocery store, or are they going to continue online? They're going to continue online. So that wipes out a whole industry, right? This is going to happen over and over and over in business. You look at online education. Online education is soaring, right? Look at Zoom, the platform that we're on right now. Do you know that when Zoom launched, I was one of the first 100 beta testers?
Oh, wow.
Years and years and years ago. I was one of the first. I remember people saying, I don't even know what Zoom is. I remember when Zoom went public and everyone laughed at the stock.
Wow.
Nobody's laughing right now.
No,
Nobody's laughing at Zoom right now, right? And what's happening is every online platform, Zoom, StreamYard, everyone, right? They are taking off. And so you're seeing new industries emerge. You're seeing older industries collapse. And so right now, it's very important, if you're an entrepreneur, to be aware of the changing landscape, and to know that that we're basically going to live in a different world. And another thing too is, for all my friends who are social media influencers and all of this stuff and make their money off of this, almost all that is going away. CPM rates today have dropped to the lowest they've ever been, right? All of that is going away. Live events, right? Live events will forever change, forever change. In my opinion, what was happening is you saw we were trending towards massive events, massive music festivals, right? We were I just interviewed Smade with Afro Nation, right? And he was talking about the event growths, the event growth that he's having. And what I think is going to now happen is you're going to see a movement towards intimacy and intimate events, right? Much smaller events. And that changes the event business, right? So there's so much that's going to change fundamentally. Now, with regard to your question of what we need to be doing, I think all of us need to have three sets of people in our lives. And this is something that I also picked up from a lot of the more successful entrepreneurs that I've interviewed. There's three sets of people. I think you need to have people who are aspirational, inspirational, and motivational. And there's a big difference between each of those three. Aspiration is someone in your life that has already achieved what you were attempting to achieve.
Right.
And if you can't have that person in your life, at least follow them on Instagram, right? On LinkedIn, right? Is that you want to be receiving that content, whether that be from a social post, a phone call, a podcast, right? But you want to be receiving this incoming content from someone or groups of people who have already achieved what you are attempting to achieve. That's aspiration. Then there's inspiration. Inspiration, that's the group of people who are on the same path as you. They are traveling the same road. They want the same thing. So they're hungry and they're not toxic. So they want to work with you, right? So they want to go. So actually, right now, I can tell you and I, we're at probably everybody on this panel, we're all on the same journey, right? So we all can inspire each other, right? We're all on the same journey. Then there's motivation, right? The motivation, that's coming from the folks who are on the sideline cheering us on, right? They may not be on the same journey. They may be on a different journey, but they are cheering us on. They are trying to push us forward, right? If you have motivation, you have inspiration, you have aspiration, and you cut out all of the toxic, whether that's toxic TV, and I say that in all honesty, knowing that I'm on a reality show that some people say is toxic here in the UK, right? But whether that's toxic TV, toxic music, toxic whatever, remove the toxicity out of your life. Successful people don't hang on to what is toxic for long. Boom, move that out. And you move in as much inspiration, aspiration, and motivation as possible. You will be good. You will be good, right? You will be good. So that's what I think people that we all could be doing right now.
Fantastic. Aspiration, motivation, and inspiration. That's amazing. There was a point that you made I really want to pick up on, and that is when you talk about cutting out toxicity and stopping the negative coming in. And the aspect of that I want to talk about, and maybe you could give a response to this, is those people who pick up toxicity where it's not there. Okay, so sometimes there are negative factors that will come in to play, etc. But you know, with life, there's two ways of looking at like the cup. A plug there for Arsenal. But you can look at this cup as half full or half empty. Well, it's fully empty now, but if it had liquid, like this one here. So we can look at this as half full or half empty. And I think sometimes in life, there are people who can be sensitive. I think we all can be in different scenarios, right? So there are times when we could pick up negativity where it's actually not there by assuming what other people think of what it is we're doing or what we're trying to do. Do you ever have those types of thoughts, or if so, how do you feel people should deal with it?
Wait, and just so I understand what you're saying that we all have negativity in life, but the question is how.
Yeah, so it's how do people kind of cut off. So what I would say is I'd describe it as external and internal toxicity, right? So the negativity could come from outside, and somebody could say things that is contrary to what you want to do, and you can cut those things out. You cut them out, cut out people, stop communicating with people, etc. But sometimes in your own mind, you can pick up things, maybe because someone has done something or they haven't done something. Maybe because they've looked at you in a certain way, you feel, oh, that's because of this. And you're kind of giving yourself negative energy as opposed to just focusing on the good side of it. Do you understand?
All right, I feel you. All right, so I'm gonna say something that a lot of people are not going to agree with me on right now. So I'm gonna lose a lot of friends on this, but I'm gonna keep it 1,000 with you. Is I believe that if someone or something doesn't, you don't aspire to it, right? It doesn't inspire you, or it doesn't motivate you, unless it is your children, you remove it out of your life, including friends and family members. So there are family members that I have that I don't talk to. If they call me, I'm not picking up the phone. They send me a text, I don't reply back. I literally, my grandmother just passed away. I was just in the States a month ago for her funeral. There were family members there that I hadn't talked to since that I hadn't seen since the last funeral. And we didn't even hug each other. Now, a lot of people will say that's cold-blooded, Paul. You shouldn't do that. My point is, I don't have time for any level of toxicity, even if they are blood related. I just don't have time for it. So that's how I believe we should operate. And that includes coworkers. I think one of the biggest sources of toxicity, it's interesting. The people we spend the most time with are actually our coworkers. That's the reason why you have to ensure that you're not in a toxic environment. And if you are, you have to remove yourself from it, right? So I think for me, that's my litmus test. If you don't fit one of those three, I literally will just stop talking to you. I just won't. I'll just stop talking to you. That's how I operate.
Fantastic. I think there's some solid food in there that people might need to chew on, in terms of that. But I think, it really is, it's such a hindrance when you're trying to move forward and you're actually stopping to entertain the negativity. It really is a hindrance. And I think unless you take drastic steps, you'll be forever held back. So I think there's a lot of truth in that. I've just seen some questions come in. Some people are typing some questions in here. In the chat box. We have a question here from Lee, and he is asking, how do you develop in-depth knowledge, build community and opportunity if you're crossing different industries in your career?
Wow, Lee, that's an intense question, Lee. That's a great one. Well, so here's the beauty. The beauty is that one of the best books I've ever read in my life is called So Good They Can't Ignore You. It's written by Cal Newport. And Cal Newport was a professor at my business school, Georgetown University in the States. And what Cal Newport wrote in this book, this theory that he put forward, is that if you can become the best in the world at a particular skill, a particular arena, then you will make more money, you will have more autonomy, and you will have more impact than any other thing that you could do in the world, right? So think about this. So you go back to the Kobe example, right? He became one of the best basketball players in the world. So therefore he made a lot of money, he had massive impact, and he controlled his time. So if you look at anyone who fits those three, lots of money, lots of impact, they control their time, they are typically the top in the world at something. But connecting to Lee's question, what Cal has found is that as we go on year after year after year, right, the uniqueness of the skill has to increase. And the key is that you want to have an intersection of multiple skills. But in order to gain the knowledge that Lee is talking about, is that you have to actually go master that skill in that particular arena. So for example, The skills that I think I have is, one is I think I'm good with analytics, analytical skill. I think I'm trying to be as good as I can with communication, right? Now, the analytical skill, I had to acquire that by being in the investment banking industry for several years, going to business school, right? So I had to go into that arena and acquire that particular skill. And I still to this day hone that skill. Then separately on the communication front, I started in television 10 years ago, brand new. I'd never studied communication and had to develop. I had to go to classes. I had to learn, right, tone and speak and all these things. Right? So I had to develop that separately. So I had to develop those skills in separate arenas. But it's when I bring those skills together, that becomes my superpower. Your uniqueness is your superpower, right? So I hopefully that answers it for Lee, right? You have to go to those separate arenas, but when you do, and you can become best in the world, you'll have phenomenal impact, phenomenal autonomy, and you'll have substantial wealth.
That's fantastic. That's a great answer. And okay, Lee says, brilliant response. I get it.
So, all right, good stuff, Lee. Good stuff. Great question. That's a great question.
We have another one here from Crystal, one of our panelists. She's asking, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh man, I love that question. So I would say don't drink as much. Stop drinking, man. Put the red stripe down, right? That's one thing I would say. A couple things. One is I would say do this more. One of the things that I do, I try not to say regret, but if I could go back and tell my younger self, I was really confident in myself in my early stages, and I was also shy. So what that led me to do is not connect. Like I was never a part of a fraternity. I kind of was just off to myself. And what was interesting is I realized that going back and talking to like a lot of people who went to my college, they were like, oh yeah, Paul, we kind of thought you were stuck up, right? We thought that you didn't want to have anything to do with us because of, but it wasn't that. It was just that I think I was scared to actually make that connection. I was scared to be vulnerable, to say, you know what, I do need help in A, B, or C. Or sure, I can't humble myself to sit and listen to you. And so what I've been trying to do over the years is to be better at connecting with others, to be better at giving my time and my energy. So to my younger self, I would say, do that. Because I found that over the years, by doing that, it's helped to propel me. I mean, I am in London today. So, you know, I'll tell you, I haven't told I haven't mentioned this at all, but
exclusive. This exclusive. Oh, fantastic.
So I host a TV show here, Celebs Go Dating, but I actually am also filming another TV show that's going to be on even maybe you can call it a bigger channel here that'll debut in the fall, right? And all of these opportunities came about because about 10 years ago, through a connection, I started coming over here to London to do little like talks, to give these events. But the point there is that I reached out, right? I was actively trying to build my social network, and that has now begotten these opportunities. So long story short, I would definitely be more focused on expanding my social network earlier on.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Another good question.
Fantastic. I'll take one more question. I know it's approaching the time for you to start working, so I'll take one more question from the audience. One is from Patrick, and he's asking, is now a good time to launch a crowdfunding campaign?
Yeah, no. Nobody has money. Nobody has money, man. No, it's not a good time to try to raise money when nobody has money. So here's the thing: the people don't have money. But you know, I know a lot of investors, and they're actively investing right now because valuations are going down. But if you're talking about a crowdfunding, no, man, people right now are concerned about what they're going to eat next week. So they're not going to readily give up that money. However, crowdfunding campaigns only work when you have a crowd, when you have an audience. So what you want to do right now is a great time to begin to build your audience. A matter of fact, it's never been a better time in the history of the world to build an audience, because everybody's online. So if you could come up with the right content, put that content out, then what you'll find is that your audience, your platform will build. And then in maybe 3 months, 6 months, when the economy is stronger, then you can go out and raise your money.
Fantastic. I think Patrick maybe anticipated that you may have said that. He said he was afraid you'd say that. So I think he kind of knew, but he was trying to check. Trying to check.
Patrick, I got you though. I got you. At least £1 I'll put into your crowdfunding campaign to do it. I got one, man. I got one.
Paul, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate everything that you've shared tonight. I don't know if you've got any final thoughts, any final message to people who are part of this session, but I'd like to thank you so much for everything that you shared tonight. Maybe you could also share your social media links as well so that people can reach out to you online.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, well, one is big up, man, to you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Most of the talks I do are with folks in the US or in Jamaica. So this is always, this is just really cool. So I appreciate it. I'm all about trying to support right now with no agenda. Like really, I'm trying to support with no agendas. I believe in giving. So anybody watching this, if there's anything you believe I can do to support you, reach out to me. I'm at Paul C. Brunson on all the platforms. PaulCBrunson.com is my website. Paul C. Brunson on Instagram, Paul C. Brunson on LinkedIn, Paul C. Brunson on Facebook. And I'm very straight up. Like if you reach out and say, hey, can you help with A, B, or C? I won't like, I noticed in the UK, this is one thing I've noticed about the UK is folks are never straight up with you. Everybody is just like, they smile. They're like, yeah. But they're not straight up. I was born in New York. I'm straight up. Like you say, hey, let's do A, B, or C. I'll say, yeah, let's do it. Or I'll say, no, I can't do that. Right. So reach out to me. And if I could do something for you, I'll definitely do something for you. And if I can, I can. But I wish you all the best, all the panelists, and big up to everybody. I feel like Paul and I have a kinship just because we got the black jumpers on.
Bring everybody in here just so everybody can see the panelists.
Yeah, man. Oh, man. Oh, my God. Look at this. My man, Des with the
Des looking sharp
right now.
Sharp. Des
came like we're in church right now. Des is looking nice. Guys, look at Des. Yeah, this is good. This is good round table. Good round table.
Yeah. Fantastic. So, Paul, thank you so much, sir, for joining us. We really appreciate it. Enjoy your time with your family, and hopefully we'll be in touch again. Hopefully this will be not the last time that we connect and do stuff together. So, appreciate you. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Man, much love. I hope when you do this, in person, I'll definitely be there. Let me know.
Fantastic. I will do. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. God bless you guys. God bless.